Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we're gonna stabilize an orchid, a Phalaenopsis orchid, in her pot. And today's subject is the Phalaenopsis fasciata, which is in bloom, and what a beautiful bloom it is, but we'll talk about her in a different video. Now, in case you didn't notice, the problem with this orchid is she is pretty slanted. Now, I received this orchid after she spent a month in transport. So I tried to pot it as best as I could, but she is kind of unstable in her pot because she doesn't really have too many roots. I did, however, notice she had this flower spike and I didn't want to lose the flower. At least I wanted to see the flower. But now that it's in bloom, I decided to do something about the way she looks, and rearranging her in the pot will only benefit her. The roots did not attach just yet. They didn't have time, so I can move this orchid without any real damage. But I know that if I pot her upwards, she will just lean once again because she does not have a big root system. So what we will do today is use some raffia tape to stabilize a Phalaenopsis orchid. Now, this is a technique I do apply with sympodial orchids, pendant orchids in general. It really helps me a lot with orchids that are heavy, top heavy. They have a tendency to lean or actually fall out of the pot. And I do have a video on my technique. You can visit the info card or the description below if you're interested. It's a wonderful, really helpful technique. So if you have trouble with pendant orchids, do watch that video. It works great for me. However, this is not a pendant orchid, and also it is not a sympodial. It doesn't have a rhizome, and I cannot really stabilize it using her axis. It's pretty dangerous and I don't want to do it, and I'm not sure if it's gonna work so well. So what do we do? Well, I've come up with a solution. So first things first, we need to unpot this orchid, which will not be that hard. As I was saying, the roots are not very stabilized. There we go. So as you can see, this orchid is starting to grow, but we don't have a big root system to keep the orchid stable. And this is a new root right here. It's a good example to see how the roots are growing in clay pots and ceramics and all of that. They are growing well, they're stiff, however, they're white. This doesn't mean they're sick, they just did not photosynthesize. I have a video on this subject as well. If you check the description, you will see it. So this root is not unhealthy. White or yellow roots are not unhealthy, they just did not photosynthesize. So we're gonna use the same medium. However, we need to remove all the medium in this pot to be able to feed a wire through the pot. So as I was saying, I like to use raffia tape. It's very flexible. It decomposes in time, but it takes quite a lot of time, so it will not break down before the orchid gets stabilized. So what I do with raffia tape is just feed it through the drainage holes, and I want the two tails outside because we'll make a knot on the outside of the pot. As you can see, the pot is empty, and I'm gonna start to add back the medium. I'll try to maintain this wire as straight as possible by keeping it in tension, and let's just place some medium inside. And this looks pretty okay. Even though the flower spike is slanted at this point, it's okay. This orchid will create other flower spikes. Now with this wire, I'm not going to go around the axis, and nor am I going on top of the crown like this. It's really not a good idea. However, I can anchor the roots. So in this case, I think I can anchor this root or even two of the roots. So I will place this raffia tape on top of these roots like so. So I don't really cover the axis, but only the roots. So I'm just gonna keep this wire like so and continue to add medium. At this point, you can see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to maintain this orchid as straight as possible with this raffia tape by putting it on top of some roots. If I would just place medium on top of it, it will not work because she's a little too heavy for that. And as I was saying, the roots need some time to properly attach to the sides of the pot. So let's fill it up. So at this point, I can go ahead and knot my wire like so, make a double knot as tight as I possibly can. I could have used 3 hands at this point, but that's pretty good. So let's complete everything with whatever's left of the medium, and we are now good. Now, I don't have a problem with aerial roots. If this root wants to be aerial, that's perfectly fine. My concern was actually the orchid because it was leaning so much, it was so heavy that there was a chance it would fall out of the pot if the roots did not attach very fast. But at this point, there's nothing that can get this orchid out of the pot. So even if it doesn't have too many roots, it's okay. It's gonna be stable. It's not gonna jiggle around. So whatever roots grow will stay in their place and will develop further. And eventually they will reach the sides of the pot and stabilize my orchid. And even if at this point the orchid doesn't have a very pretty shape, soon enough she will. So as you can see, we managed to stabilize this orchid better just by using tape to pin down the roots. With monopodial orchids, I think it's kind of dangerous to try to stabilize the axis or the crown because even this tape can make water evaporate slower. And water inside the axis and the crown is never a good idea with monopodials because it can lead to stem rot and crown rot. While with the roots, there's really no danger of this happening because roots absorb moisture. So water doesn't really pool and stays trapped inside because it gets absorbed by roots eventually. And this is something that I started to do with Phalaenopsis orchids as well if they don't have too many roots. And it seems to work really great for me, and I hope this will inspire you if you ever run into an issue of the sorts. So thank you for watching, but before I let you go, please take a moment to rate this video below. Would they like if you've enjoyed it, or would they dislike if you absolutely hated it? Also, a share would be fabulous. These are things that help my channel grow and help me continue to do what I love. Also, subscribe to my channel for daily orchid and plants videos, and if you ever want to send me a letter, do so at the address you see on the screen or in the description below. Choose an option on the screen if you'd like to watch another orchid video from me or visit my website orchidnature.com. Thank you for joining. I'll see you all next time. Bye!